Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Can't hear you.
It was still muted from coming back from the intro. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. We have a lot of Milwaukee Brewers discussion going on today. I should say exclusively Milwaukee Brewers discussion going on today.
Yes.
We're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers trade rumors. There are a handful of them, not a crazy amount, but a handful. We're going to talk about some players that could be on the trade block for the Brewers all the way down to the Timber Rattlers level. And then we're also going to talk about a potential plan to how to get Luis Lara to Major League Baseball. Before we get started, I just want to say again, thank everybody for commenting on all of our series recaps as we're doing those now. We have moved those out of the Wednesday episodes and just started making them into their own posts. Jake has been doing videos and I've been doing text-based posts and just doing write-ups. Thanks everybody for interacting with those and commenting on those. Yes, even Cubs fans, yes, I understand that it's going to be way more talking after the Cubs win a series than there is going to be if the Brewers win the next time the Brewers play the Cubs. But I did have a couple positive interactions with a couple of Cubs fans, which if you've been watching our show for a long time, you would know that that's something I've said that I've really never had is a positive interaction with a Cubs fan. I had a few from that post over the weekend. Definitely plenty of dickheads, but some really good positive interactions. So for those Cubs fans who want to have a respectful rivalry, that's the best kind of rivalry, in my opinion, where it's like, I hate you, but I respect you. That's the kind of rivalry that we like, that we can appreciate that we're having a rivalry over a game, but also still want things like the other team to be healthy and to beat them when they're at their best and stuff like that, and have some good, healthy rivalry. That's the kind of stuff that we like, that gets us really excited. So for those Cubs fans, thank you. For the rest of you, we're still 4-2 on the season, so fight down.
And we're still ahead of you in the standings. So
also, miss me with the don't look in your rearview mirror too close. Heard that 3 last years in a row. Maybe come back from behind and win a division before saying that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like the rant that I went on about putting the Reds and the Brewers in the same discussion before the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And now it's the last 69 games that the Reds and Brewers have played against each other. The Brewers have won 50 out of 69.
Damn.
That's a lot of wins.
And we're 5-0 this year.
Yeah. So I posted my thoughts on the first 2 games of the series last night. So you can go check that out. Again, no recaps today. Today we're talking, firstly, trade rumors. So, Jake, you had some guys that you brought. I had some guys that we both kind of knew or rumored. And just to be in the interest of clarity, these rumors aren't like the Brewers have been linked to Tariq Skubal. It's rumors. We're strictly talking rumors. We normally wait until there's a little bit of smoke for some fire, but these rumors come from anywhere. But we've narrowed it down to I don't know, probably 8 pretty significant ones. So, Jake, who do you want to talk about first?
I mean, why don't we talk about Skubal? He's been talked about on MLB Network and stuff like that. So he would be obviously the biggest fish to go get. I think Tariq Skubal would be – I don't want to compare it to CeCe. It's hard to compare things to CeCe Sabathia because he was just so legendary in his half season here. But it would be on that level. And, God, I am blanking on his name. Who would I share a quote from the other day to you? And I said bars.
Oh, it's Jeff Passan.
Jeff Passan, dude. First of all, Jeff Passan is fantastic. He's awesome. But he said, you don't open a window to sit on it. You open it to go through it. I'm paraphrasing. But it's like Tariq Skubal would be a move where you're trying to go through the window. So that would be an incredible move for the Brewers.
It makes me think of the 2019 Nationals when they traded for Max Scherzer, even though they already had Steven Strasburg.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's kind of how it makes me feel. And I think the Brewers are competent enough that they wouldn't win a championship and then just be dog shit for the rest of their franchise since then.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would ruin the franchise for the Brewers to go and pick up a guy like Tariq Skubal. Not necessarily a move that I think they have to make. I think another guy that you brought up right before the show started being Joe Ryan. I think he is a guy who could help you almost just as much, but for a significantly lower price tag.
Yes.
Regardless of what the Brewers would potentially offer in something like that, essentially figure that Mate and Fisher are completely untouchable.
At this point, yes.
Everybody else is at least somewhat touchable.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that. So outside of Skubal and Joe Ryan, one other pitcher that I've seen floated out as in my mind, a very, very realistic option is Reed Detmers from the Angels. He is I believe he's on a veteran minimum contract, so he'd be pretty inexpensive. So I think that's a very realistic option and one that we very well may revisit in 2 weeks when we do our actual trade deadline target list.
Fair.
All right. What do you want to talk about next?
Go to Chapman. Let's talk Chapman. Give me a thought.
So Aroldis Chapman is one that's been floated around. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like if the Red Sox are sitting there and they see the caller ID pop up and it says Matt Arnold, that they're just hitting the decline button.
I don't know. We have the most top 100 prospects in baseball, so maybe he takes the phone call.
The prospects are there, but
yeah,
that dude probably hates Matt Arnold.
I would imagine he does.
But I would be on board with Matt Arnold being able to pull one more thing off before that dude gets fired.
Right. I mean, I think Boston fans, if they saw that Aroldis Chapman got traded to the Brewers, I think the fans would go to the GM office and fire him themselves.
I've seen a couple Red Sox fans say that they would like to see Chapman end up on the Brewers. I mean, that would be his fourth Infinity Stone out of the NL Central,
Yep.
having pitched for 3 of the teams in the division already. But I think it's a good idea. I mean, adding a high leverage relief pitcher, I think it just gives Pat Murphy more options. It kind of makes me think of the Jeffress, Knebel, and Hader days, or when we had Jeffress and Williams and Hader, having a 7, 8, 9 where it's okay, if you get 6 innings, that your opponent's not scoring. So I like the idea of Aroldis Chapman, and I think as we move to the Astros, I think I like the idea that you presented before the show even more.
Yeah. Real quick about Aroldis Chapman, I think that would be a fantastic move. I think it would be a little bit more expensive because of trading with the Red Sox. I think they're going to try to take a little bit more from us. That was just my opinion when I first saw it. I was like, oh, they're going to try to get a little bit more out of us this time, bro. Right. They saw what we got for Kyle Harrison. They're like, yo, what the hell, dude?
All 3 of those guys are better than any of the 3 guys that we got.
Yeah, right. But a guy that I saw being kind of floated around was Josh Hader. And that one's really interesting. Along the same impact of Aroldis Chapman, a guy who's a power-throwing lefty. But the difference is, obviously, he played for us. So he knows the stadium. He knows the fans. He was here for a while. And he knows the pitching coaches. So I think we know that it fits. We know that he'd be a fit here. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And there's a couple Astros players on this list. So
yeah, there's several.
Yeah, it looks like the Brewers and Astros are going to be talking, according to the rumors.
Very, very, very on board with the Josh Hader idea.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to throw out Isaac Paredes, and I'm going to let you throw out the last Astro guy when we get there. Isaac Paredes is a guy that the Brewers have been rumored to be potentially interested in. And to me, it's just something that's made sense for 2.5 years now. Mm-hmm. I wanted the Brewers to go get him back at the 2024 trade deadline. And then the Cubs got him. And then last year, I wanted the Brewers to go for Willie Castro from the Twins, and then the Cubs got him. But good thing about being interested in Isaac Paredes, again, is the Cubs already had him and let him walk. So there in my mind is a very realistic option to upgrade third base, because the way that I'm going to end this segment is probably not going to mama the Mia for a lot of people that want the Brewers to make a big trade.
Yeah, that's probably true. So the last guy that's on the list of potential Astros coming to Milwaukee is the guy who's probably in line to win the AL MVP at this point, Yordan Alvarez. I mean, that guy, that would be the move. The Brewers don't need to fix pitching. The
I
pitching.
was going to say, when you said that Tariq Skubal is the biggest thing on the market, I almost jumped in and said,
It's only because he's the back-to-back Cy Young Award winner. That's why I said that.
Yeah. He might be the biggest fish on the total market, but maybe not on the Brewers.
Yeah.
On the Brewers' big board.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to break it up between pitching and hitting, Skubal would be the biggest pitcher you can get, and Alvarez obviously would be the biggest hitter you can get. But the things that Yordan Alvarez would do for this offense, I think is unspeakable. I think that he could be a guy that could unlock the next level in Jackson Chourio. You know, the way that he's able to hit right now. I think that he just makes that lineup just so much scarier because he has power to all fields at all times. He has power to all fields at all times in the Astro Stadium. What is he going to do in Milwaukee, dude? I've been talking about this for a while. I'm kind of trying to do a thing where I speak it into existence. So if I keep talking about it enough, it'll happen. But Yordan Alvarez, dude, that would be Damian Lillard-esque if they got Yordan.
It's a situation where I don't think it's something that they would necessarily be like wanting to happen. Yeah. But think back to Sunday's Cubs game where you're like, we can't take Gary Sanchez out because we have no other catchers. If you're in a pinch like that, like Yordan could catch for a couple innings.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to get really serious and ask him, like, hey, are you okay with catching once every other week when William just needs a day off? Like, you know, you're not going to get Salvador Perez level catching from him. But, I mean, if he can just give you just enough days behind the plate to give William Contreras a day off of his crouching once in a while.
Yeah.
For a chance to be on a contender, I don't see why it would hurt to ask.
They get Yordan, they're right up there with the Dodgers for title contention.
I couldn't agree more. It's literally the only thing that they're missing is power.
Yes. Consistent power.
Consistent power. Like, yes, there's like you can talk about getting some higher batting average out of the left side of the infield, but I mean the thing that the Brewers really lack as a team is, like you said, the consistent power.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine, you know, bottom of the orders, you know, getting on base one of these days. And, you know, you talk about the higher batting average, but Hamilton does a nice job getting on base. You know, in my opinion, he does a nice job being a platoon. Well, he was most of the season. You know, if he gets on base, you're scared of his speed, and the pitcher's paying attention to him, trying to not let him steal second base, and he makes a mistake to Yordan. That's going yard, dude. Yeah. So that's the thing that would be next level. And like I said, Jackson Chourio is going to get better pitches hitting ahead of a guy like Yordan Alvarez. And that's a scary thing for everybody because he's already a free swinger.
Yeah. And I don't hate the idea of maybe giving Christian Yelich a little bit more days off.
Yeah.
And even having him in the outfield once in a great while, again, if you're not using him as often, you know, maybe, or he's just your ace up the sleeve as a pinch hitter. As a guy that you can trust to go in for Joey Ortiz in a late game situation, and you feel better about getting somebody on base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And it just gives you options. Like there's no world where you add Yordan Alvarez to your offense and you're like, okay, we have to figure something out. It's like, no, we have Yordan Alvarez. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, that was the answer to the question.
Yeah. So here's my extremely unpopular opinion before we move into the Brewers that could potentially be on the trade block. Is I feel pretty strongly that the Brewers are not going to make any major trades.
I don't think so either.
And I think if they make any trades, it's going to be very much like the Reed Detmers kind of thing. That kind of level of trade. Just because I believe that Matt Arnold is very in tune with what 2027 baseball is going to look like, and it's probably just going to look like a black screen.
You know, I had that same feeling because I'm like, I think the CBA meetings is hurting the Brewers because who knows?
I think it's hurting the 2026 Brewers.
Yeah. That's what I mean by that.
I just want to clarify that specifically.
Yeah, it's hurting this year's Brewers because who knows, man? With all these top 100 prospects and the feeling of they could, you know, take any prospect and turn them into a top 100 prospect. I think, you know, having that up your sleeve, maybe they do go for a guy like Yordan Alvarez. And, you know, we don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they still will because he has team control for a few years after this.
Right.
So maybe you know, his next season, you know, if we don't have a season, gets grandfathered into the, you know, a year after that or something like that. Right. So We don't know the verbiage on what's going to happen, and maybe they do go for it. But I do think personally that the CBA stuff is hurting the aggressiveness that the Brewers probably would have this year.
I think when you factor in not only, the CBA talks, and it looks pretty bleak for 2027 baseball, to be honest.
Pretty bad.
How far apart the league and the players are, it looks pretty bad for baseball. Like Jake and I are compiling a list of things that we can talk about next summer because there very well may not be baseball. So that alone, and then you couple in the fact of like doing the long-term extensions. Obviously, they already did with Churio. Doing the long-term extension with Cooper Pratt. Doing the long-term extension with Luis Lara. We know they've talked to Turang about extensions. I guarantee you they've talked to Mizorowski about extensions. I think it's part of maybe why we haven't seen a William Contreras extension. Something that I've said is that the way that the Brewers are operating, I believe that they're setting themselves to try to be a dynasty after 2028. That's really what I feel like. I feel like money is one of the main things that potentially holds the Brewers back. Obviously, we know that the Brewers are a small market team, and we know that they can't spend like the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Blue Jays. Like the Brewers can't spend like that. But I think that they are seeing the reality that in 2028, even if there's not a specific salary cap and floor, that the playing field is going to be a little bit more level when it comes to how much teams can spend.
Man, it's not level right now, and they got 50 wins in the first 82 games.
So, and Reggie, it's gonna depend on how many games they play.
Yeah,
it's gonna depend on how many games they play. It could be a 60-game season like it was during COVID.
Yeah, that was.
We have no idea what it's going to look like. If maybe they get a deal done in April and we have a 125-game season, and it's a mostly full baseball season. But just as we sit on July 1st, 2026, it does not look good.
Yeah, I don't know if you've checked out any of the verbiage, Reggie, but they seem pretty far apart.
I'm going to put that in my notes as a potential topic when we have a day where we don't have a lot to talk about on a Wednesday.
Yeah, we can talk about the CBA.
We could do some of the early CBA notes.
Yeah, some of the verbiage, they just seem like they're almost like cussing at each other in professional speak, in my opinion. When I'm reading it, I'm just like, that doesn't sound great.
It really feels like, hey, the first thing that we're going to bring up is the thing that you're going to dislike the most.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It feels like they're cussing at each other in professional talk.
Yeah, so I put that in my notes. Like I said, we can save that for a Wednesday where we don't have as much stuff to talk about. We can talk about some of the early stuff that the league proposed and stuff that the players proposed. So we can do that at a later date. But yeah, makes me feel like even though we're going to talk about players on the trade block, that the Brewers are probably going to make a lower under the radar, more type move than a big splash. So that said, Jake, let's start at the Major League Baseball level. And we talked about this. We know who each other's guys are.
Yep. And
we discussed this. So Jake, let's just talk at the Major League level first. Give me your three guys, your two regular players, and then one surprise player. That's how we have this broken down for each of the four levels. 2 regular, 1 surprise. Jake, who are your guys at the Major League level?
So my first regular player would be Blake Perkins. Obviously, somebody that's looking a team that's looking for a defensive outfielder. He'd be a great fit on there. You're going to get a hit every once in a while, but that's not why you're trading for him. You're trading for him because he can play multiple positions, and he plays them well. Joey Ortiz is the same way, and switch hitter, great call. Joey Ortiz is pretty much the same thing. He plays 2 positions. He's never caused a rift in the locker room. He's never pouted. He just does his job. I mean, I've actually gained a ton of respect for Joey the last couple of weeks. And just so everybody knows, these notes were finalized on Sunday before he hit the home run to win the game on Monday. So
Jake wants to trade our most clutch player right now.
Joey Ortiz getting some good luck. Maybe he's up in that trade value, like I said to you last night, as he was getting a couple hits here and there. But just having the ability to play multiple positions, like I said, he's like this close to Gold Glove level. Honestly, he just doesn't have name recognition, but he's got a sweet glove. Yep. He's playing platoon. If you trade for a third baseman, you can just make David Hamilton the platoon player because he can play multiple positions as well. Yep. And my surprise player, and I know that you hate this, and I know a lot of people are going to hate on it, but mine is Christian Yelich. Just I just need a little bit more power. And, I talked about him not walking as much a couple of weeks ago, and then all of a sudden he starts walking and getting on base more. His average has ticked down, as you've told me. But he is getting on base more, and he's just if he gets an uptick in power, then we're fine.
Yeah.
Because he's the DH. He's paid to hit, and he's paid to hit for power. So that's just my thoughts on it. Now, I just want everybody to know, I do not want to force a trade for Christian Yelich. I don't want to trade him, okay? I'm not, going crazy or anything like that. But we had to have a surprise player, so that would be a surprise, right?
Yeah. So I also had Joey Ortiz and Blake Perkins on my list. And my surprise guy is one that it would be a bummer. And I have Sal Frelick as my surprise potential trade guy. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. But if you are in a situation where, the Astros want a young Gold Glove level outfielder, and they're like, you can have Yordan for Sal Frelick and a Double-A pitcher. I mean, you have an immediate replacement for him. That's literally the next segment after we're done talking about the trade block. It would be a bummer to lose the caliber of person of Sal Frelick. Reggie said definitely doesn't want it, but I'd have Sal as a surprise. If you're looking at teams who are playoff hopeful and bad on defense, the teams that I looked at first were the Phillies, the A's, the Blue Jays, and the Mariners. Those are teams that I'm going to look closer at in the next 2 weeks before we do our trade deadline, actual targets. I looked at those teams, and I'm like, if we can get some offense from those teams in exchange for defense, that could be a thing that helps two different playoff teams. But, again, if somebody is interested in a young Gold Glove level outfielder that has, upside as a hitter to potentially be a leadoff guy,
mm-hmm.
I mean, I would understand it because they literally have his replacement.
Yeah.
So let's go to the AAA level. Jake, who do you have from the AAA team as two regulars and one surprise?
Yeah, so my first one, I have Ramon Rodriguez, the AAA team. The Sounds just called up a couple catchers, so they now have 4 catchers on the roster. So I'm like, somebody's got to be the odd man out. Akil Baddoo, somebody looking for a cheap backup if you need a fourth outfielder. That could be an option for a lot of teams. He's actually hitting very well down in AAA.
I could actually see the Brewers just trading him for cash, to be honest, just to give him a shot at the bigs.
Yeah, for real. I mean, we're obviously loaded with talent, so I could definitely see that as a possibility as well. And my surprise would be Tyler Black. I like Tyler Black. My buddy Tyler is the one that really got me looking closer at Tyler Black. But I think that he's a guy that I think he's lost in the shuffle. I think that he deserves a shot to start somewhere. And I think that he could be a nice story for a non-contending team. That's what I think about Tyler Black. But that would be a bummer. But, again, he could just be a guy that goes on a non-contending team that's just like, hey, we're just going to go out here, we're going to play, and you're going to develop at the big league level. I could definitely see that as a possibility.
Yeah, and I'd be happy for him if he got that opportunity.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it would be a bummer. I'm a big Tyler Black guy, so.
Yep.
Yeah. My two regular guys are Luke Adams and Brock Wilken. Those guys are both Rule 5 eligible, which is going to be a big theme on my list. And then looking at Luke Adams and Brock Wilken playing first base and third base, both of their underlings in Double-A are destroying baseballs extremely regularly.
Yeah.
You could trade Luke Adams and Brock Wilken today and have two guys on an airplane tomorrow to immediately step into their shoes.
Yeah.
The way that Blake Burke and Andrew Fisher are hitting in Biloxi is extremely noteworthy.
Yes.
They could both stand to strike out a little bit less, but I'm perfectly fine with them getting those fine tunes in AAA instead of AA because they are both mashing in AA.
Dude, what?
Andrew Fisher hit 2 home runs last night. He's got 6 home runs in 11 games.
That guy, and we were talking last night, and we both said the same thing about the strikeouts with Andrew Fisher, and I'm like, dude, maybe this guy's just Kyle Schwarber at third base, dude. He just strikes out, but he hits bombs, dude. You're just gonna have to take the 2 strikeouts because he's gonna hit you a 3-run homer that ends up winning you the game 6-4.
Yeah, I'm okay with sacrificing 2 to 4% of on base for an extra 200 points of slugging.
Yeah, and he will bring the power. He brings the juice.
Yeah. Reggie
No,
said
I
he's
don't
not
think
going
he
to be in
will.
Double A for long. Speaking of not in Double A for long, I feel like Jesus Mate is going to be called up to Triple A any day.
Yeah, it's getting.
I have no backing for that, but I feel like it's going to be any day.
It's getting pretty close, getting serious.
Yeah. My surprise guy in AAA, it is Jet Williams. He is the Brewers' number 3 prospect, and I feel like the only reason I have Jet Williams as a potential surprise is if you were going to make a big swing. Like if the Astros, let's just keep using Yordan as the example. If the Astros were like, "Hey, would you give us Sal Frelick and Jet Williams for Yordan Alvarez?" Are you saying no to that?
I'm gonna say yes, and I love Sal. I really love Sal. Like I really enjoy doing this, especially with my daughter. But like,
I mean, we can do it for Andrew Fisher in 2027 if we have
right. But like Yordan Alvarez, dude, the guy's nasty.
Yeah. That makes a trade like that makes the Brewers so scary.
It does.
Like the Brewers are like a team where it's like, okay, if they hit well and they score runs, like they can beat anybody. If you had Yordan to the team, it's like, fuck, how are we going to beat them?
Yeah, now you got to try to score 8 runs instead of 5.
Right. So the reason that I have Jet Williams as a potential surprise trade candidate is because the Brewers are also loaded on infield depth. Like literally down the entire organization, loaded at infield.
Yeah.
And I understand that Jet Williams has some super utility capability to potentially play some outfield, but we already have more outfielders than we have games to play them.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that aspect of it. I do think it makes him a potential surprise trade candidate if you're going to make a big swing.
Right. What up?
Jacob, what's up? Okay, let's go to the Double A level. Also, really quick, Jet Williams is also Rule 5 eligible.
Yes.
So
Tyler did a little more research on the Rule 5.
So Rule 5 is in December. It happens at the winter meetings. So, I mean, fucking who knows even if a Rule 5 draft is going to even happen. But essentially it means if you want to protect anybody, they have to be on your 40-man roster. Mm-hmm. I do think it's very possible that Jet Williams gets added to the 40-man roster and they don't have to worry about it. But it does make me, again, it's a surprise candidate. It's not like Brewers are probably going to trade him. It's more like I could understand it, the logic behind it if they did.
Yeah. Like some other team might have more opportunity on their 40-man for Jet Williams and the Brewers because they're just so deep. All right, so moving on to the Biloxi Shuckers. First guy I got is Nick Merkel. I'm like, this guy's 27 in Double-A, probably a trade candidate. I mean, and he's a pitcher. So, I mean, the Brewers are known for the pitching lab go burr, So if he's not going burr by 27 in Double-A, probably a sign. Another guy I got, I know he was a first rounder in 2022, but he's being passed up by a lot of his peers. It's Eric Brown Jr., infielder. So maybe a fresh new scene would maybe unlock something in him. And, we are Brewers fans, but we are also humans. So I am cheering for all these people to succeed because I like when people succeed. So Eric Brown Jr., if he ended up getting traded somewhere and all of a sudden he starts jumping up rankings, I'm going to be like, that kind of sucks, but hey, good for that guy, Like
we have Jesus Mate and Luis Pena,
yeah. And then my last one, and Tyler was like, ooh, you might want to take this guy off. And I'm like, well, I need a surprise candidate. Jaron DeBerry, he had a really bad May, but he's having a super good June. And I'm thinking like, this could be a sell high opportunity for the Brewers. Because we don't know, maybe he settles somewhere in the middle of the bad May and the really good June. So maybe it's an opportunity to sell high if you're into stocks. Maybe his stock has risen very high. So Jaron DeBerry is my surprise pick.
Okay. Jacob, thank you.
Jacob Mizorowski. I like that.
The reason I say no to potentially trading Jaron DeBerry is because of how highly Javik Blake speaks of him.
Yeah.
So like I feel like he's obviously he gets to do media and everything, so he's closer to the team than we are. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the opinion is high, but like you said, maybe it's an opportunity to sell high. 3 guys that I have, one being Damon Keith. He is having a great season as an outfielder, but he is 26 years old, playing in Double A, like you said. That's kind of getting past the normal age to be in Double A. So that's why I have Damon Keith as my first one. The next one I have is Mike Bovee. He was a 2023 second-round pick. He's a decently versatile 24-year-old that plays a lot of spots on the infield. But this is also his first time being Rule 5 eligible, and he's just a guy that I don't see getting a 40-man roster spot. Mm-hmm. Now, again, he is in Double A, so I do think there's a possibility that nobody drafts him in the Rule 5. But again, just kind of one of those things where it's I could see that being a position of organizational depth that the Brewers can explore. Similarly to Eric Brown, I feel very, very similarly about those two.
Yes.
And like you're saying with other organizations, if they're looking at guys and they're like, we don't have very good organizational depth in the middle infield, and we have a reliever that you guys could use, just 1-for-1, and we're good.
Mm-hmm.
And then my surprise one in Double A is Dylan O'Ray, and it's a surprise because he's batting .314 and he has 36 stolen bases. But he was a 2022 third-round pick, another guy that can play a couple different infield positions, primarily second baseman. But it would be a surprise to see them trade a guy who bats .314 and has 36 stolen bases. But in my mind, when I see that, I kind of see how Jake's talking about Jaron DeBerry, where it's you have a guy who's got really, 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 really good numbers, and you have an opportunity to sell high on a guy at a position that you have organizational depth.
Yes.
So if you trade Dylan O'Ray, in my mind, I see that as an opportunity to immediately bring Luis Pena up to Double A.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go down to Appleton, the last spot that we are stopping for potential trade block. Kind of had to dig deep a little bit for this one, but who would you potentially see on the trade block for the Brewers from the Timber Rattlers?
Yeah, you hear us talking about depth and organizational depth, and we have all these pieces, and the place where it really starts, the foundation of this organization in total is the single A team, and they are loaded. I mean, they're having a really fun season. It was just Utter Tucker's weekend, so if you went there, I'm jealous. I wasn't able to go. But they had a walk-off on Sunday, which was pretty sick, a walk-off grand slam. But, yeah, like Tyler said, it was pretty hard to go up and down this roster and be like, nope. It's like, maybe?
I'm really in a position where, you look at the Timber Rattlers and, you're saying, it's nope. Who the fuck is that? Nope. What the hell? Yeah. Nope. 7.12 ERA? Nope. Yeah.
Right. So I have Tayden Hall, just for unspoken reasons. Chandler Welch is a pitcher that I have on there because, dude, there's so many good pitchers on the the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, dude. It's almost disgusting. And a guy that would be a surprise, and this is another guy where if you're going to go get a big fish, you got to give up something, right? And it's Bryce McCage, the number 19 prospect. Like I said, he's having a good year. He's obviously very highly regarded in the Brewers system. Being number 19, that's no joke, man. In the top 30, that's no joke. So when you're part of the
number one farm system.
Yeah, if you're part of the deepest farm system and you're ranked in the top 20, you're probably pretty sought after. So he would be a guy that would be like, all right, here's the final cherry that we're putting on top of this sundae for you. That's just my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, with the Astros, too. I think they have the 29th ranked farm system. So, literally one of the worst. It's 28th or 29th, I'm pretty sure the last time I looked. Yeah. They're at the bottom. So, they can use prospects. We might even be able to get away with not including any major leaguers or AAA players if we trade them, 4 AA prospects. I also had Tayden Hall on my list. He's a 23-year-old designated hitter, and he was a 2022 ninth-round pick. I have Luis Castillo. He is an outfielder that has some power upside. And then I have my surprise is Daniel Corneo. He's a 21-year-old pitcher. He's fresh off the 60-day injured list, but his numbers in his first 7 appearances, 5 of them being starts, are really great numbers so far. So, like Jake said, kind of a really good position to be in for the Timber Rattlers with a bunch of good pitching. That was one that I thought could potentially be a surprise.
So before you cook with your Lara idea, if you haven't been looking forward to this is probably going to be the smartest thing that Tyler says on the show today, and he said a lot of smart things today. I Googled it real quick. Where are the Astros farm system ranked? So on ESPN, they're ranked 29th. Bleacher Report ranked them 29th. USA Today / The Athletic ranked them 28th. MLB.com and Baseball America placed them in the 28 to 30 tier. So they're bad. Now, then my next question I want to ask it is, how many top 100 prospects do they have? How many top 100?
That's going to be like one.
Yeah, so this is what's going to make your idea here. They have one. Bryce Matthews, shortstop, second base.
Dude, he's close to graduating too, and he's not playing well.
Yeah, he is currently the primary highly regarded player on the Astros list, having made his MLB debut. Yeah, so they'll have 0 pretty soon. So you could absolutely be on something that we could probably make a trade without trading an MLB player. My God.
That would be awesome.
My God, dude. They're in a really bad position.
The Astros are in a rough spot.
They're in the position that, like, you sold your soul for multiple championships, and now it's like, all right, well, now it's time to pay the man.
Welcome back to the red and gold Astros when you were in the NL Central. That's like the level that they're heading towards.
Yeah, and they're bad now with their major league team, so Jordan's probably gone, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's probably damn near asking for a trade level.
Please just don't let it be the Dodgers.
Not even
I don't even know where they would put him, but just no.
All right. We're going to end on creating some space for Luis Lara. This was a question that we had asked to us, and I'm maybe going to answer it more in depth than the person who asked the question maybe even thought I was going to. So the first thing that I looked at is when Cooper Pratt got his extension compared to when he made his debut. So Cooper Pratt got his extension on April 3rd and made his debut on June 16th. So it was almost a 2-month gap, 2.5-month gap. Luis Lara got his extension on June 9th. That puts him somewhere towards like mid-August. And what I looked at for the Brewers is seeing that Jake Bauers has cooled off. You could go back to kind of platooning him with Andrew Vaughn, another guy who could definitely use some power resurgence. But he's hitting for a high average, so apparently Andrew Vaughn should just be our new leadoff hitter, and Jake Bauers should be our cleanup guy.
All right.
But Jake Bauers has cooled off. He's batting .250 over the last few weeks. So you don't need to force him into the outfield just to get him more at-bats. I feel like you can kind of tone that down a little bit. Obviously, you could send down Blake Perkins or trade him like we discussed, and then you can start platooning Luis Lara with Garrett Mitchell and Sal Frelick a little bit. But what I did is I looked through this goes through Monday. So the first 82 games of the season, and I looked at with 80 games remaining, not including last night, in this calculation. I looked at how many games each of the Brewers' primary outfielders started. So they figure there's 82 games. That means that there's 252 starts made in the outfield because there's 3 positions. So looking at Jackson Chourio, he's been starting in 47 out of 49 possible games. That's 96%. I don't necessarily think he's going to start 96% of the games the rest of the season, but just strictly for math's sake, that's where he's at. Garrett Mitchell has started 59 out of 82. That's 72%. And Sal Frelick has started 64 out of 82. That's 78%. Those are your top 3 outfielders, your top 3 primary left, center, and right fielders. Jake Bauers has started 17 games in the outfield out of 82. That's 21%. And then Blake Perkins and Brandon Lockridge both have made 23 starts in the outfield. That's 28%. So what I did was look at it if you go forward that you're going to have a 4-man outfield of Garrett Mitchell, Jackson Chourio, Sal Frelick, and Luis Lara, that the way to do it is to call up Luis Lara on August 5th. That's right after the trade deadline. So if you can flip Blake Perkins, even if I really don't care what team you send him to if they need a major league level defending center fielder. Like if that's all that somebody is trading for, like I really don't care the return just because it takes a piece out of the equation as far as the outfield is concerned. So I'm looking at August 5th. It's a little bit less than the timeline of Cooper Pratt from his extension to debut. It's almost 2 months exactly. August 5th. That would give the Brewers 49 games remaining for the rest of the season. So there's essentially 147 starts to be made among the outfielders. If you look at the percentages that these guys have started, out of the 49 games that there would be remaining, Jackson Chourio would start 47. Again, that's probably going to be a number that's closer to like 42-ish. But again, just for the sake of math, 47. Garrett Mitchell would start 35, and Sal Frelick would start 38. So if you say that you're just going to start Luis Lara on all of these guys' off days, that lets Luis Lara play 27 games from the beginning of August through the end of the season. Starting 27 games. And if you figure, call it approximately 3.5 at-bats per game, that puts him at 95 at-bats. And, you figure he gets some pinch hit opportunities, or he becomes a seventh inning, substitution, and he gets an at-bat. That gives him right around almost an even 100 at-bats.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
By having him come up on August 5th, he gets 27 starts-ish, and he gets around 100 Major League at-bats to end the 2026 season and get his feet wet. Maybe he plays well enough to make the playoff roster. He's also fast as shit. So, worst thing you can do is he can still be a pinch runner in those situations where you need to run. I really feel like August 5th is the date.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it makes total sense to get rid of like a guy like Blake Perkins or Brandon Lockridge, because those guys are used a lot in the pinch running situations as well, and you can just have Lara do that since he signed to the long-term contract anyways.
Yeah.
But the way that you broke that down when you were telling me this last night, I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, you ever seen that meme where the kid's just like, Jesus Christ? That's how I felt yesterday. I was like, why did you break it down like that, dude? That's crazy.
But, yeah, I mean, you do it that way, it gets them around 100 Major League at-bats. I think that would be perfect.
I like it. I like that idea a lot. I hope it happens, and I hope the Brewers just keep winning ball games, man. That's all I want.
Yeah. So we have 2 more Reds games. Like I said, I posted my recaps for the first 2 games because I didn't want to have a post that ended up having 4 games worth, because honestly, I feel like even my 3-game recap posts are getting like a little bit on the long side. But
yeah,
I did writing for 4 years, so like I feel like I want to flesh out everything and not like omit stuff. And people are reading them, so I'm going to keep doing them that way. But I didn't want to do a 4-game series all in one post. So I got the first 2 posted. I'll have the second 2 tomorrow afternoon. And then we have a series over the weekend.
Diamondbacks.
And then we'll have a 5-game series with the Cardinals next week. So got a bunch more games to cover. I'm not exactly sure what next week's show is going to entail, but 2 weeks from now is when we're going to be doing our MLB trade deadline targets. Yep. So definitely stay tuned with that, and then just stay tuned with the page. We're going to be having some more consistent content, and then saving less stuff for Wednesdays. We're just going to be putting it out. Yep. That's kind of the way we're approaching this. And as always, like we say it on a lot of our posts, if you have any ideas, stuff you'd like us to talk about, feel free to let us know. We're always all ears. And again, we do the shows live so we can have comments and have questions and stuff. So feel free to let us know. And other than that, we'll see you guys next Wednesday.